We're going to be working on this drawing 10391. This is a real print. If you remember, I showed this to you a couple of times during the semester, and I mentioned that we were going to be working on it. This is actually an aluminum extrusion. So we have a big opening here. And in this case, we're showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different views of this drawing. And this is a typical way for how we create how we use two-dimensional prints to show us and give a machinist a representation of a three-dimensional drawing without actually making a three-dimensional drawing. Giving machinists a three-dimensional drawing is not actually typically all that helpful. Now, there are a few things I want to point out. One is that we have a couple of different things that you're going to see here. Right here, you see this dash line here. This is a hidden line. So what is a hidden line? A hidden line is a line that you can't see because it's actually hidden by the face that you're looking at. So for instance, this extrusion, when we rotate it so we're looking at this particular face, we can't see that there's an opening behind essentially this wall. This dotted line tells us that there's something going on behind here. And then the dotted line here tells us there's something going on behind there. And the same thing, we have these dotted lines up here and up here. Now, the other thing that you may potentially see or pick out is that both dimension lines and center lines are in red. And that's typical. The dimension and center information are actually in the same color. And that's because they're used in the same manner. They are information that's related to the drawing, but it's not something that's telling you something specific about the drawing or a cut. It's additional information related to the drawing. So this is the reason why they're the same color. Let's see, what else do we have here? You're going to see us use construction lines here. So we're going to set up some construction lines. So we're going to set up hidden lines, we're going to set up construction lines, we're going to set up dimension lines. Also, typically, I know in the past we've used green for the center lines. Normally, I tend to use a color that tends to be a little dimmer. And the reason for that is that you like to use the brighter colors for the information that is most important. Typically, the most important information is what are the details of your drawing. So the details of the drawing are your specific cuts and your angles and the things related to the drawing, like the corners here, or the fact that we have the holes here, or the holes here, the holes here, that kind of information. So we tend to use often the brighter colors for that information. So anyway, let's get to this drawing and get started. So we're going to go to our AutoCAD, and I'm just going to choose File, New, and I get my template. I'm going to choose Imperial, or excuse me, not my template. I get my Start from Scratch menu. Choose Imperial. I choose OK. I'm going to go right to my layers to start. I'm going to open up my layers, and my layers opened on the other screen, so I need to bring it over here. I'm going to add new layers. I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe 4 is correct. We'll see, we may need to add another one later. All right, so layer 1, I'm going to label my center layer. Layer 2, I'm going to label my dimension layer, label 3, my construction layer. Did I say label? I meant layer if I did say label. And layer 4, will be my hidden layer. Okay, so my center layer, I'm going to change the color and I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to make my line, I'm going to go ahead and go to my line type and choose center 2 and hit OK. Now while I'm here at line type, it turns out I can add line types anytime. So let me load up my other line type that I'm going to need, which will be hidden. So I'm going to go to hidden, and because our drawings tend to be small, I'm going to use my hidden 2 line type. Now in this case we're doing center, so I want to choose my line type as center 2. Now notice that, of course, there is a difference between center 2 and hidden 2. I choose my center 2 line type. My dimension line type, I'm going to change the color to red. I'm not going to change the line type, so the line type still stays continuous. My construction layer. Typically, I make the construction layer a dim color so that you can see it. However, you can ignore it if you need to. So I like to use a dim gray. And then my hidden line, I'll choose the green for the hidden line. And the hidden line, the line type, is going to be hidden 2. For the construction layer, we do leave the line type as continuous. Okay, so now that I have this set up, I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now I'm actually going to set up a grid to set up my construction lines, or just set up construction lines, and in a second we'll talk about construction lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my snap on. I'm going to set an X and Y grid spacing of 2. And then set myself up to a grid snap. And we're only going to have this in this manner just for a minute or two. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to display my grid, and as you can see here, we only see a couple of lines, so we must be set up with about 2 inches, looks like 4 inches across or so. So I'm going to make this actually, okay, those are major lines. We can see the major lines, and these are the major lines, and these are the minor lines. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That looks okay for now. We can adjust as needed. I'm going to make sure that I'm set up in layer 0. All right, so now that I'm set in layer 0, I'm just going to make a construction line. So what is a construction line? A construction line, actually, excuse me, I want to be on my construction layer because I'm making construction lines. A construction line is a line that extends for infinity. Now also, when you start your drawing, you should take a look and see where it says my specified point, and see how that it says specified point 20, 10. That's not a horrible place to start. My 0, 0 is somewhere somewhere down here. Actually, it's right there. I don't, of course, need to start at 0, 0. But what you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be starting a drawing at some really horrible, weird dimension or location. So, anyway, I'm gonna start just right. Start right here, and I'm gonna start on a major line, and I hit return, and this is my construction line, so it makes a line of infinite length, and I'm just going to make one. I'm gonna make a horizontal one, and then I'm gonna make a vertical one. So now I have two construction lines. This was basically going to be my starting point for my drawing, for my corner. So if I go back to my drawing, this will be the starting point over here. Now what I've decided beforehand is I'm going to start with this drawing, this point 8 inches over here, and this point 8 inches over here, and then this point 3 inches 6 inches down, and this point 6 inches up. So I'm going to be 8 in this dimension and 6 in this dimension. So I'm going to just make some more construction lines. We're going to go back to AutoCAD, and again I'm going to choose construction line, and now I'm really just doing grid snaps here. So I can start here and I can go 2, 4, 6, go up to 8 and make a line, hit escape, go to construction line again, come down 8, hit my mouse button, make a line. I said 6, but I went 8. That's fine. We'll leave it at 8. And then on the vertical, I did want to go 8. Again, I'm choosing construction line. Start here, 2, 4, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. Put one there. Hit escape. Make another one. 7, 7.5, 8. Oh, I hit escape before I hit my mouse button. Let's put that back again. There's our 8. Need to move. Once I hit my mouse button, I actually need to move up. So when I hit my mouse button, that's the starting point of the line. But then I need to move up or down to actually make the line vertical. Otherwise, it could be horizontal, or you could make it at 45 degrees, or it all depends on what our polar setup is. Okay. So there we have our lines. So that's going to be the start of where we're going to place our drawing. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit. We'll place it like that. That's going to give us a good reference and a good setup for placing our parts. I just want to check. I sort of wonder if I'm really 8 here. But I am. Okay. Now the exact distance does not matter, although it is definitely important that the drawings line up. Going back to my drawing for a second, we see here we have an extrusion that has an opening that is 4 inches by 3 inches. We come back over here, and we can choose a polygon. And at this point, actually, we're going to turn off our grid snap. Completely turn off our grid. Turn off our grid snap. We can actually go back to polar snap. Change our construction from our construction layer to layer 0. Now we choose polygon. We're going to come to our center here. We choose a start point. Now it wants our other point, so all we have to do is type 4, 3. It'll be 4 in the x dimension, 3 in the y dimension, and that puts our box in. So now to put the inner box in, we can simply choose offset. Now, where do we find the thickness of the inner box? Well, we have to look. And the rules of dimensioning is you only show the dimension once. So that dimension is right here, 0.125, and it says ref. The reason it says ref is because this is an extrusion. And in an extrusion, we don't actually know the exact thickness. An extrusion is like Play-Doh. So it really is made the same way if you're a kid and you played with a Play-Doh pumper. Hot aluminum is pressed through a mold. Actually, the same way pasta is made. It's pressed through a mold, and then the temperature and the speed that it's pressed through determine the thickness. The thickness is designed, depending on the procedure, to be nominally 0.125, but it has a wide tolerance relative to what typical tolerances are. So this is why it's given as 0.125 ref. Okay, so we can go back to our drawing, and we want to choose offset. First, we want to specify the distance, 0.125, enter. We click on the object, and then we move inward and press enter. Now we have these rounded corners. Rounded corners, radius is 0.09, and it's in 4 places. So all the corners get rounded to 0.09. Come back to our drawing. We choose trim. Excuse me, not trim. We choose fillet. And we come down here and we type R space 0.09, enter, M for multiple, enter, and now we can simply walk around the corners. Okay, so there we go. This piece is done. Let's move up to this piece here. So here we have another polygon, and its dimension is going to be what? Well, we know it's going to be 4 inches in width, and then in height, the height is actually specified over here, 2.1 inches. So we can come over here. Move over to here. Choose our polygon. Choose our starting point. Hit return. And then we said 4, 2.1. 2.1, enter, and that places our box. Now, this is the same box that's going to be down here. So let's just copy and move it, or make a copy and put it down there. So we're going to click on this. We're going to choose copy. Now we're going to choose this lower corner as a copy point, because that way we can just bring it directly down to this point. All right, so before we continue, we're gonna take a look at 2 things. One is we see that because of the way we're placing we have I guess we have the same space here, but we have a pretty large space between these two, between here and there and here and there, relative to what we see on our drawing. And remember, I'd used 8 inches instead of 6 inches. And I think I'm going to correct that. So how do we correct that? Well, we can just move our construction line. So we can grab it here, and we can move it up. I don't know, let's move it up by 3 inches. Let's move it up by 2 inches. So we start moving it up and type 2, enter, and then we can take this one, move it down by 2, and then we can do a move of this guy down, and then we can do a move of this guy up. Now in this case, I didn't actually move to the construction line. Oop, and that time I did an erase. So put it back. We select. We want to do a move, and you actually have to use the right click to do the move if you're going to move it so that you move it directly in this manner. You could do the move where you select it from this middle grip, and then because you know you're moving it 2 inches, you could bring it so that it's going up, and then just type 2 and hit enter. That would also work. All right. So we have those placed. Let's leave those for now, and let's just place the other ones. We'll come back to finishing them later. So now we have boxes that are 3 inches by 2.1, and they're to the left and to the right. So we come back to AutoCAD, and then we're going to make another polygon. And now we're 2.1, 3, enter. Copy. And let's move. I'm going to leave these the way they are. And the reason I'm going to leave these the way they are, it has to do with print sizes. And if you notice, when print sizes, you have your prints tend to run in a landscape mode, and you have more room in landscape than you do in landscape. You have more room horizontally than you do vertically. So it's okay if we have extra room on this side. So we're going to leave them. We're going to leave those as is. All right, so now that we have those, we need to start adding the other features. Well, what are the features? Well, we have the hidden lines. So let's go through and add all of the hidden lines. So on the top and the bottom here, what we have is we have a hidden line we can go back to the print for a second, that is shown from the top to the bottom, .125 inches away from the outer edge. So what we can do is we simply come over here and we can take a line now. What we want to do, it looks like, do we have tracking? Yeah, so once we get a tracking line, we can type 0.125, enter. Got to restart that. We first want to change our layer to our hidden layer. Now we can choose our line. Now remember, we don't want to hit our mouse button on the corner. When we're on the corner, we simply pull away. And one of the things you can see or not see is it's hard to see that you actually have a tracking line. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off our construction layer. So let's go to our construction layer and click right there. Now the way these layers work is you don't see that something gets turned off until you actually go back to the screen. So once we come back over here, you'll see the layer gets turned off. So now we're in hidden layer, we choose line. Once we're there, let's see what we're set up for. We're on Polar Snap. Object snap tracking is on. Snap cursor 2D reference points is on. Let's look at the snap mode here. Look at our snap settings. Our snap is on. Grid is off. Snap type polar snap. Yeah, we're okay. All right, so there we go. So there's our line. Once we see our line, we're still snapping in 0.5 inch. It wants to snap in those 0.5 inch increments. We can override that, but I'd rather just turn it off. That snap needs to be off. Okay, so see now we can actually move anywhere. It doesn't really make a difference because when you type your 0.125, it still works, but it makes it less likely that you'll make a mistake. So I type my 1.125 and I move up, and when I get to the intersection at the other side, I hit my mouse button. And now I can hit escape. And what I can do is I can select this. And then what I want to do is copy it. And then I'm going to choose the base point at the top here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it right to the corner. But then I'm going to back it back this way. And once I start backing it back that way, I'm going to type 0.125. And it didn't do it. It made it, it referenced back to that point. So there's two ways you can do this. You can move this all the way to here, and then select it, and then move it 0.125. The other way is you can calculate, if you know this is 4 inches. And I actually moved the wrong one, didn't I? So sometimes we make mistakes, so I need to put this back by 0.125. Enter. Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, there's 2 ways to copy and move this to the other side. One is without, you can move it all the way so it's on top of this line, and then click on it and move it back in this direction by 0.125. The other way is to say, okay, I know the length of this is 4 inches, and I know then that if this is 0.125 and that's 0.125, that total is 0.25. So 4 inches minus 0.25 is 3.75, so I could just move the second one over by 3.75. So I tried to do it quickly without using any math, and you could see I made a mistake there. So I just showed you 2 ways that you can correct it. Now, in order to do the one on the bottom, we can just copy and move this. We can copy these 2, or select these 2, then do a copy. Now I'm going to select it from here, and then we can move it down. And it turns out that it looks like the dimension is exactly 12 inches. So we can place it right there. Now the ones on this side, you can do in a similar manner. And in fact, there are again lots of ways to do this. If you wanted to, you could break this up into parts and then just take this piece, copy it, and change the layer. You could use a snap from. .125. Then this, I'm not using snap from here. Again, I didn't hit my mouse button on that point. I just I use tracking to space it off. So I place it there. And then, as I said, if this dimension is 3, then the other one has to be 2.75 up. So I can do copy, select, and then move up by 2.75. Enter. And then I can select both of these, copy, choose it here, and then move over to this one. And in this case, we happen to be 16 inches. All right, so now we have the hidden lines placed. Let's go ahead and go back to the drawing. We have a 1.078 inch hole located 0.157 inch hole located 1.465 from this corner and 1.078 up. And this is typical, that you don't end up with round dimensions. So I'm going to write this down. 1.465 in the X, 1.078 in the Y, and 0.157 through. Come back to our drawing. And that was a diameter. So we're going to come up here, choose circle diameter. Here we are going to choose snap from. I'm going to click on this corner and then type at 1.465, comma 1.078, enter, and the diameter is 0.157. Now you can already see I'm doing this in hidden, which is incorrect. So I need to select this once I'm done, go to quick properties, and then change my layer to layer 0. And again, reminder, the color, you generally never change it from by layer. You don't want to change the color there. You always want to change the layer to make the color different. I'm sure there are some extreme reasons why you might need to do that, but generally that's not the case. All right, so the hole on the other side, we take a look at our print. It's 1.553 in the X dimension, and it's going to be negative, and it's also the 1.078. The diameter is 0.218. So we come back to our drawing, circle diameter, snap from, we select here, we type at minus 1.553, comma 1.078. Enter. Oh, and I guess I forgot to change the layer again. 0.218. Enter. But again, that's perfectly fine. We can select it. Quick properties. Change the layer to layer 0. Now, as a check, we should have a vertical line that goes directly between those points. And in fact, we do. Okay, so we've got 2 out of 4 done. Or 3 out of 5 done. Let's go back to our drawing for a second here. Okay, so up here, remember, always blow up the drawing to whatever size you need to make it readable. All right, so we have these large holes, 0.688. They are 0.99 down, and then one is 1 inch over, and the other is 1.9 inches over from that. So 0.688. So 0.99 and then 1. So minus 0.99 in the Y. So circle, snap from, we select this, and we type at 1, 0.99, enter, 0.68. I believe it was 0.688, but I'm going to put the wrong number. Let me put 0.680. Ah, and I put the wrong location, right? Because I must have typed, I didn't put minus 0.99. So let me just hit escape. Anyway, I'm going to type the wrong diameter because I want to show you how to fix that. Just remind you again in case you've forgotten. So circle diameter, snap from here. I want to type 1, minus 0.99, enter. And there I forgot the at sign. Circle diameter, snap from here, at 1, comma, minus 0.99. Enter. Remember, if you don't see the circle showing up where you intend it to be, fix it. Don't continue on. Stop right there. All right. So I'm just going to put a diameter of 1. Make it a wrong diameter. All right. So there's our diameter of 1, which is wrong. And we do want, I'm going to confirm, 0.688. Yes, 0.688. The next one is 1.9 inches over. I'm not going to actually put that in yet, though. So let's go over here, and then quick properties. And we can just change the diameter right here, 0.688. Okay, so let's go back over here and take a look. So also we have 0.31 inches up and 0.31 inches over from that center. We have these 0.112 inch holes. So, circle, snap from, we choose the center at minus 0.31. Comma, 0.31, enter, 0.112, enter. And then we can do that again, circle, snap from, choose the center at 0.31, comma, minus 0.31, enter. And the 112 will already be there, so we can just type enter. So now this whole feature gets copied and moved over by 1.9 inches. So all we have to do, select everything, right click, type copy, choose the center, and then move it over by 1.9 inches. And that completes this drawing. Again, we haven't done dimensions yet. In fact, we're not going to do dimensions today. I will give you the dimensions video for Wednesday. So now we have to go and do the drawing down here. So let's first do this very easy hole. From this edge, 3.175 up, 1.325. So 3.175x, 1.325y. We want a 0.138 diameter. And when we do the dimensions, I'll be talking about what all these numbers mean. Some of you may sort of understand what these mean. Some of you may have no idea whatsoever, but I will be talking about them. All right, so let's go ahead and put this 0.138 inch hole in. So let's come down. And again, we're going to snap from this corner. So circle, snap from, select this corner at 3.175, comma 1.325, enter, 0.138, enter, and our circle is way out of left field. Oh, so actually if you look down here, you can see I typed 31.75 instead of 3.175, so that's why we ended up with a circle there. We need to delete that, and we'll go do that again. So circle, snap from, click here, at 3.175, comma 1.325, enter, and that looks better. 0.138, enter. Okay, so there we have that hole. And let's go back to our drawing again. So now we have at 2.925.614, we have a hole of 0.375. So 2.925.614. So circle, snap from. So we click on that point, and then we type at 2.925, comma 0.614, enter, diameter 0.375, enter. And then right on top of that, we have a circle. Well, we have a bolt circle, 0.951. So let's go ahead and put that in. And that's going to be on our center layer. So we're going to choose center, circle diameter, 0.951. And then on that, we're going to have at 5 degrees a 0.112 hole, and then 30 degrees from 180 or 150 degrees a 0.112 hole. So we had to put in a hole at 5 degrees down from 0. So let's come over here to our angle setting, and we can choose our angles. We have 5, 10, 20, etc. And now we can choose circle, (355). That would be our 5-degree angle. Right there is the intersection with the bolt circle. We hit return. This is pretty common that you don't switch back to the center layer, and this is why I sort of don't automatically take my time to make sure that I do it, because it's just a reminder that it's a very easy fix. So now we put our 0.112 hole in, specified diameter, .112, and now we can come over here, quick properties. Our layer needs to be layer 0, and so that we get the other one right, we'll set that to layer 0. Now that we've done that one, we want to change the angles so that we're only at 30 degrees. So we don't have so many angle lines. And now we're going to place the second circle at 150. 150 is 30 degrees off of 180. And here all we have to do is hit return, because it's going to default to that 0.112. Okay, so we come over here, we hit extents, and there we have it, I believe. Let's take a look at our drawing. By the way, we'll be talking about the background and the pages a little bit later. So we're sort of doing this one step at a time. Okay, so yeah, we should thoroughly check our print. And again, we will get to dimensions. We're not going to get to it in this video, but you will see it on your video for Wednesday. All right, so we're all set. I'm going to end the video now.